This is tangentially linked to the other main news talking point, Jake Fisher reporting that OG Anunoby grew dissatisfied with his role in Toronto this season. I did see a tweet on Twitter. I apologize that I can't even cite it properly, but that OG's touches were sort of diminished as more of the offense was turned over, not just to Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam, but also Scotty Barnes. That's left some haziness looking forward as to what his role will be like. Clearly, he might fancy himself someone who is more of an on-ball creator. The numbers do not back that up. We've seen promise. We've talked about it on the pod, not so much this year. He can hit sort of the methodical pull-up jumpers. We've seen him do more than attack on straight line drives, but just as a passer, even varying up his handle a little bit more, there needs to be demonstrative leaps there. And even then, is he someone who's going to be able to face up and hit just these, isolation jumpers consistently? I don't know. And does he fancy himself that type of player? I really, push comes to shove, even if you think maybe he's close to that, I would just question the playmaking. What is his turnover rate going to be in those situations as well? Still, Toronto's been mentioned as a Rudy Gobert destination. I just want to make it clear, I fucking hate that fit. It's grotesque in my mind. I'm sorry. They'd figure it out and they'd be great defensively. I don't want to watch that offense. Toronto's apparently not willing to give up Siakam in that deal because they value him more than Rudy Gobert, as they absolutely positively should. But you can't match money unless you're going to give up OG, and then it would have to be Gary Trent in all likelihood, because you're not going to trade Fred VanVleet or Scotty Barnes for that matter and step ladder your way there, which is why I would rule Toronto out basically from that. I've seen just a lot of deals floated around that would get Utah the number 7 pick in Josh Hart that would get Toronto, the number 7 pick and Josh Hart. Jake Fisher, point blank, his article for Bleacher Report mentioned that wouldn't be enough to get OG Anunoby out of Toronto. And I think I kind of agree with that. Josh Hart's going in the final year of his deal, and the number 7 pick, there's that drop off after 5. I'm talking talent specifically in this draft. A lot of people think there's that drop off after 4, but like the cachet of when you're moving that pick, it feels like it drops off after the top, definitely the top 3, but I think you can stretch it to 5. And so it would take something else. Maybe that Milwaukee 2025 first. Does that get it done? Something to consider there. But my main point is, I know Toronto sort of dances to the beat of its own drum with Masai Ujiri at the helm. And I know that having Siakam and Barnes and even Gary Trent Jr. and just the way with Precious Achiuwa and just all these, like the wing, bigger wing type bodies that you have to combo forward type bodies, combo big type bodies, maybe it makes you think that Toronto can say, hey, we want a higher pick. And it's a player in Josh Hart who would be useful to us immediately. But the Raptors are trying to win now. They're really good. They have Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby. Like, that is their window just as much as Scotty Barnes is, who the reigning rookie of the year was a positive impact player for what became a playoff team. And I just find it very hard to believe that they would move OG for just sort of picks and then maybe a rental. If they're going to go even something that's close to that route, I would assume it's more of like a framework I've been bandying about is, what if the Kings offered you number 4, Richaun Holmes? There would need to be other salary in there to make it work with OG Anunoby. But so actually, maybe there wouldn't be. And you look at Richaun. No, you need other salary in there because the Kings aren't going to be a cap space team. Let's just say Richaun Holmes, Mo Harkless, that seems like a very Toronto player. Number 4 could have been the salary. So if it's number 4 and Richaun Holmes, and then something like a protected pick after this year for OG Anunoby, that's a deal I could see Toronto talking itself into, because they apparently want a big there. Richaun Holmes, not the most switchable guy, but he's better on defense than people give him credit for. Has that little push shot. I still think he could have outside range if you gave him the green light. Would definitely help out their rebounding. He's been mentioned as a name that Toronto should go after for quite some time. And look, he's on a very palatable deal. He's never even going to make $13 million in a single season over the next 3 years. Maybe that's something they consider. And look, I'm not saying New Orleans should do this, but if New Orleans went number 8, Trey Murphy, given his close to the year, and that was the framework, plus Devontae Graham for OG Anunoby, or maybe Jackson Hayes is involved in there. Perhaps they view that as filling enough holes because you're getting the Trey Murphy was this tangible player and just the way he shot in the playoffs and some of the things that he did defensively leading into the postseason towards the end of the year that you could talk yourself into. But just straight up picks and a guy who's going to come off the books, in a Josh Hart, I'm looking at Portland specifically. I don't see that. Maybe if 2 firsts are attached there, perhaps. Otherwise, if you're going to move OG Anunoby, it almost feels like you're going to do it as part of a blockbuster all-in play for yourself. And while I can think of the archetype of player I'd like to see the Raptors get, and spoiler alert, it's not a center. I just don't, if they want to, fine, but I don't think they need to go buck wild to try and get a Miles Turner or a Rashawn Holmes or a Rudy Gobert or a Christian Wood. Christian would be interesting there, by the way. I know it doesn't fit their defensive mold, but his floor game would be nice. They need shooting, and they need like another self-starter on offense. You could say that he needs to come off the bench. I don't care. I'd probably prefer a higher end option than that. You definitely want a higher end option than that if you're giving up OG. But I have a very clear archetype in mind as for what the Raptors would need. And I just don't. Why would you move OG Anunoby independent of trying to elevate your place in the Eastern Conference? It would just feel like this weird lateral move, or maybe even a step back. I know OG wasn't great this year, dealing with a bunch of injuries, a lot of stop and start to his game. Feels like his offense took a step back, but he is still at his worst in the top 10, 5th percentile, the 90th percentile of 3-and-D weapons in the NBA. And someone who, like, he's played a lot of 2, 3, 4. You can stretch him to guard some 5s. They've used him to go up against bigs before. So we're talking very close to a 5-position defender. And I don't have just any deals, all-in deals that would make sense for the Raptors with OG. And again, the hodgepodge route, I feel like there could be something there with the Pelicans if they wanted to have OG and Herb Jones on the same team. That would just be wild. Like a Trey Murphy and Larry Nance Jr. as your primary and then number 8. Is that too much for them? I don't know, but that could be a deal I could see maybe Toronto talking itself into. That does it for the news portion of this. I hope you enjoyed that little ramp.